under Uniform Commercial Code 440.2511 by tender of payment 2 and 3.
It's not applicable to this case.
And could you tell me why, Your Honor?
Because the UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance. Sir?
Yes.
I'm asking a very simple question.
In today's courtroom clip, we see Judge Simpson deal with a situation that's becoming more common lately. Someone trying to bypass rent laws by claiming to be a sovereign citizen. This individual walked into court with a cashier's check that looked anything but legitimate. It had markings that weren't even in English, and yet he expected the judge to accept it as valid payment for rent. Judge Simpson was having none of it. He firmly explained that U.S. law requires debts to be paid with actual legal tender, not with pieces of paper someone prints up at home. The man insisted that his homemade check was valid, but Judge Simpson reminded him, clearly and without any room for debate.
Good afternoon.
How you doing, Your Honor?
What's your name, sir? What is the claim in this case?
Judge, this is a non-payment of rent action with a money judgment being requested as well. I'm showing that rent is due in the amount of $1,588, court costs of $217 for a total rent retained of $1,805.
And sir,
Yes.
how do you intend upon paying this?
So, Your Honor, I actually tendered payment to Group 5 Management on November 3rd. And my form of payment was refused.
Was what?
My form of payment, she refused payment.
What was your form of payment?
A cashier's check. I actually have the voided check here. And I'm asking for
You had a
yes.
cashier's check? Let me see.
If this is also the refusal in the email from the landlord. All right.
Danny, do you know anything about the refusal of payment?
I do not, Judge. Obviously, I'm standing in for Mr. Weiss. I believe my client or the client was supposed to be on. My understanding was that it wasn't a cashier's check. It was a counter or a check. And the reason it would have been refused was because he's had more than 3 checks come back as insufficient funds. But I would ask if I don't see if he's on here, Judge.
From Randolph Court or Group 5 on the Zoom? We don't have anybody checked in.
We don't.
Email.
Judge.
Hang on, Ms. Zane. He has an email saying about the refusal. Well, it's a text message screenshot.
Yes, it's a email. I actually screenshotted it.
And it says,
if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Let's get back to the video.
From a somebody with the last name of Aslam, ASLAM, indicating that they received a rent check in the sum of $1,238, which the check that he showed me was in that, in the form of an over-the-counter check. However, must be certified funds. And then, second page, as the system will not accept this, maybe. But
Yeah, Judge. My notes on the ledger show counter check, which is a check that's not. It's one of the ones they give you from the bank, and so again, that's the position I was taking, anyways. It was refused.
So, sir,
Yes.
Is there a reason why you can't get certified funds to the landlord?
Well, they actually accepted December's rent from the same check, Your Honor, from my bank.
Okay, but if
Well, because it costs, and my defense is that under Uniform Commercial Code 440.2511, by tender of payment, 2 and 3.
it's not applicable to this case.
And could you tell me why, Your Honor?
Because the UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance.
I'm sorry?
The UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance.
It's a commercial transaction, Your Honor.
The UCC does not apply.
Okay. So where could I find this at that says that this isn't a commercial transaction?
That would be your assertion. I'm telling you it doesn't apply to this.
Just for my understanding that the Uniform Commercial Code governs all commercial transactions in commerce. And so based off of this law, tender of payment is why my defense is that once the tender of payment was refused, at that time, the charge or the total amount was discharged.
Even if you were to do that analysis, you can't then have unjust enrichment, which means that you want to move.
I'm sorry.
You can't have unjust enrichment, so you'd have to move because you can't have the apartment and not pay.
No, I mean, I paid the rent. They took the exact form of payment in December.
That the law doesn't work that way. It was a reality check, and a serious one. Now, let's be honest here. Everyone understands how hard things can get. Not being able to cover rent is a tough place to be, and many people have been there at some point. But what's troubling is that instead of seeking help or working out a solution, some people are turning to these fringe ideas that they're not subject to the law. They find information online that convinces them they can create their own rules, their own money, and avoid legal responsibility. That's not how any of this works. This trend seems especially common in certain parts of the country. Take Michigan, for example. There's been a surprising number of these so-called sovereign citizen cases coming out of that state. It almost feels like there's a movement forming where people are being misled into believing that laws simply don't apply to them. We've seen cases where people try to argue with judges using screenshots from the internet or quoting outdated legal theories that hold no weight in an actual courtroom. One case even involved someone trying to pay rent with monopoly money and being...
Sir, are you going to tender a check or no? Or certified funds to them?
I'll tender payment.
Are you going to tender certified funds for the 1805?
So, Your Honor, my rent is $1,238, and just the extra $700, $600. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but if they accepted the rent payment and from my bank in December, I don't know why they wouldn't accept it now. They refused November, and then they accepted December.
Sir?
Yes.
I'm asking a very simple question.
Yeah.
Are you going to tender certified funds to them in the amount of 1805?
I will surrender. I will submit funds.
Certified funds to them.
I plan to. It costs me to do certified, so I would.
As does the NSF transactions that they've had in the past. So that is my question to you. Are you going to submit certified funds?
I'll submit certified funds
in the amount of 1805.
I like to debate that amount because I'm not sure where that amount's coming from. My rent is $1,238. In court costs, I'm not sure what the other $600.
All right, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Defendant to submit $1,238, which at this point is the undisputed amount in certified funds to the landlord no later than December 29th, 2023. And then we will look at the disputed amounts. I will adjourn this matter to January 5th, 2024 at 2 p.m. And I would just note to you, Mr. Smith, that if those funds aren't in, I'm not hearing any additional argument. I will be granting a judgment, which will be for their full amount, plus what will at that point be January's rent.
Your Honor, also, the 4th I have to work. So every time that I'm coming here, I'm having to take off of work. And
Sir, I cannot help that.
I mean, is there a way that we can set a different date?
That is my next date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
genuinely shocked when it didn't work. These moments might seem humorous from the outside, but in reality, they highlight a serious misunderstanding of how the legal system works and the consequences of ignoring it. Chances are, the man from today's hearing will be back in court again. If not for this issue, then likely for another. He might walk in saying, "But I gave them a check for $200, as if writing a number on a piece of paper should be enough. But that's not how money works. U.S. law, specifically 18 U.S. Code Paragraph 514, makes it a federal crime to use counterfeit financial instruments. That's not a slap on the wrist. It's a charge that can come with prison time and a permanent record. This isn't about being harsh. It's about upholding the law. You can't just invent your own currency and expect others to honor it. And while many of us might sympathize with someone going through financial hardship, there's a clear line between struggling and attempting fraud. What Judge Simpson showed today is that the courtroom is a place where facts and legal standards matter. There's no space for made-up arguments or internet theories when real laws are at play. So here's the big question. Should laws around squatting and rental agreements be stricter? Or should we be looking at